Welcome viewers. Marine Rescue Central Coast, Marine Rescue Central Coast, Marine Rescue Central Coast. CC 130, a procedural radio check at Gosford Main Boat Ramp, over.
Also calling for radio check. This is Marine Rescue Central Coast, hearing you loud and clear on channel 16, over.
Marine Rescue Central Coast, CC 130 to proceed with app procedures. CC 130 out. I don't know, sometimes the signal coming in from this Marine Rescue crew isn't all that clear. Anyway, let's get into it. Cold this morning. Ooh, it's cold. Let's go. It's really hard when you're pushed into a relationship for a couple of years, many of you for decades, and you've tried to condition yourself to the unresolved. You've watched and you've hoped for the person that you're with to develop, and that hasn't happened. You're starting to wear mentally and suffer psychologically. You're becoming despondent as to where the relationship's headed and what your experience has been in it. Many of you have been injured physically and mentally by this person as they deteriorate into their stubborn, narcissistic mentality, which always degenerates the person. As they get older in age and get uglier and more maladaptive, more angrier, you'll notice that they become more malignant. They just look at you with a stare. It's like they don't understand what they need to do to the relationship, but you know they know how to fix it, but they just won't. That's maladaptive, stubborn, cruel behavior. They just won't. They just won't do what's best for the relationship. Now, in its infant stages, when they start to degenerate and their reprobate mind kicks in, they don't think you notice because they're so used to doing it. So therefore they don't think you're going to do anything about it. As a big freight train comes through, I don't know if you can see the lights of this train, but you'll most certainly be able to hear it in the background as it appears way over on the horizon there. Big freight train. Quite spectacular, Gosford, for everything that goes on here. Just while that train's going through, I will remind you, you can't swim in these waters. They're shark infested, which keeps you in touch with your instincts, which is what we want. You want to be alert and aware. As they begin to go into their reprobate, zombie-like deterioration, it can stabilize. And what I mean by stabilize is they'll sit on the unresolved and hope that you'll sit on it as well. They hope it'll just go away, but the thing with unresolved is, if just because nothing's being done about it, doesn't mean there isn't a problem. Oh no. Just because they're trying to ignore it or pretend it's not there, doesn't mean it isn't. That's part of the delusion that these people live in. How are you, mate? One of the keen ones. You deserve the big fish, mate. Good on you. They've been getting a few. Yeah. No, I'll go round. I see. I got it. Woo. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. How good's that? All right, mate. See, a lot of people use narcissism in their description, which is probably accurate. But if you look at the bigger picture, it's all about degenerative behavior relative to the relationship. The person's degenerating, they're fading, and they're falling away from the grace that's being given them by being in your life. And you ought not to be one of these people, because the males and the females do it. As you age, you become more aware of the importance of having somebody in your life that you can produce power with. And if you've got somebody in your life that is not helping you to produce power and positivity, then you really need to consider what you're trying to accomplish. You might just be feeding into a psychosis that you have, like a serial form of codependency, where you, as long as you've got somebody with you, as long as you've got somebody there that you can flesh out with, that's all that matters. Well, you might want to challenge where your mental health is, what things you need to fix, because you're contributing to the problem. You're feeding the narcissist. What we want to try and do is starve narcissism, or starve the sinful nature that's going on, the degenerative behavior, so that these people wake up by way of realizing people aren't going to tolerate their abusive behavior. And their abusive behavior, the worst form of it, comes through the silent treatment and the passive aggressive forms of punishment. Sex without a lead up to the intimacy, just sex, the pulling down of the pants and the jump to ejaculation or orgasm. That's abuse, because there's been no intimacy, just familiarity to meet an end. You're just meeting an end. There's no power. It's like the Bible says, they had a form of godliness but denied its power. You have a bent and twisted form of relationship, but you deny its power because you're not operating in it the way that you should, and that's with responsibility, accountability, which comes off the back of transparency. Is hard. Sorry guys, that's the radio. Transparency is hard because it will lead to responsibility, which will lead to having to take accountability. Now that can be in the form of punishment or it can be in the form of reward. Responsibility and accountability may start in the negative or the confrontive, but it should always end in at least resolve, and on the better scale, reward. Oh, now look at all these birds, viewers, on the bank. Galahs, they're called Australian galahs. They're pink and silver with a white crest. They're feeding. I hope you can see it. I don't know if the camera is picking this up, but look at that, it's magnificent. The problem with the carnal nature, the sinful nature that we all have, the innate sinful nature, is that it continually wears away within that person as to what's good. Now some people try to drug it down. In fact, a lot of people try and drug it down. Others try and drink it down. You can see in their eyes that they just haven't got it right. There's always this sense that they're trying to hide something. Yeah, they are. Their sinful evil nature that they're trying to combat on the inside. Because we all are. And that's what's going to come after the relationship. That's what's going to cause the narcissist or the psychopath or just your general person that hasn't done the work to understand what's working against them from the inside of themselves as part of themselves. That's what's going to come after you. And so it's very important, even if these Christian people, to understand how the sinful nature works. Now I'm going to give you some very important things to think about now. The great enemy of religion is, these religious people, is to think that there's something you need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. Because that arouses, puts into motion to work against you and ruin you, your sinful nature. That's why there's so many narcissistic and psychopathic and destructive Christians. They haven't been taught that God's not interested in their righteousness. He is absolutely not interested what we can do or not do to make him happy or stop him from being sad. He is interested in our faith in Christ. Now, let's use the relationship from that information to see how they get ruined so consistently. In a relationship, our job is not to make the other person happy or stop them from being sad by what we do or don't do. And you'll think straight away, well, you can do whatever you want. No, there is a moral ground that we stand on. That's just a given. There is a minimal moral ground that we stand on. And if the job for us is not to do or not do things to make our partner happy or stop them from being sad, what is it? Well, just like with religion, it's to have faith in the Lord Jesus Christ. Well, for us, it's to have faith in the relationship. You've got to have faith in the relationship. And if things don't look like they're going as they should, you've got every right to, and every entitlement as part of the relationship, to try and bring order, to keep things in order. Because Christ is the same yesterday, today and forever. He doesn't change. Your salvation is eternal. That's why it's eternal, because it's based on Christ. It's not based on you. And I wish I could say the same for your relationship, but it's not. Humans change, and this is what we're dealing with. They deteriorate, they lose interest, they become despondent, they behave wrongly, they don't produce, and there's all sorts of different complications and things that fall into play as the relationship wears on that will work against it. Your job is to make sure that you're playing your part. You can't play the other person's part. How you going, guys? You getting any? Yeah. Yeah, right, wow. There's the young, is that the young bloke from last week? Good on you, mate. I thought about you. You're in the top 5%, mate. Bright future. Yeah, they're getting a few flatties. Interestingly. I'll catch you later. You too, guys. And that's what you're up against. How the carnal nature will come in or start to manifest because of the rules and regulations these people put on themselves, the way in which they're culturalized to believe they need to act within a relationship. Goes for all of us, to try and make the other person happy or stop the other person from being sad. Now, if you drop a tin of spaghetti on your partner's toe, they're not going to be happy, right? They're not going to be happy. If it's an accident, you'll get the forgiveness. If you do it on purpose, there's something wrong, right? They're going to go, hang on a sec, there's something wrong. And their friends and family will be saying the same thing as well. It's the same with lying, cheating, covert resentments and bitternesses, which will manifest against you just because you don't know it's there and what's going on. It will manifest against you. These things have to be dealt with as you go along. If your partner's got a resentment for, say for instance, he's smoking in your car, your boyfriend's smoking in your new car, and it's got no consideration for the value you have for the car, right? You parallel that with, well, what's his consideration for the value of the relationship? He's not respecting you. She's not respecting you. And you have to keep micro-incrementally adjusting your attachment accordingly by the way in which you see your partner behaving in the relationship, because your faith is in the relationship. The Bible warns not to trust or have faith in people. Love them, that's your job. But if they start crashing down around you, right, your focus should be on the relationship, not on the person. And if that person isn't performing in a way in which is acceptable in the relationship, then you must act accordingly. Transparency. Accordingly, you can't smoke in my car, but you are. You're being disrespectful. You're not showing value for what I value, what I've worked for, what I have done, what I've, what's important to me. See, by the time you start an exclusive relationship with somebody, you should both know what each other's values are. Okay, if you're with somebody that's into medication and you haven't read it right and they're abusing their medication, that person's going to be thinking, well, beauty, while I know this is wrong, we'll let this train go past. Right, this person's going to let me continue to abuse my medication. Right, you've given license to that just by way of going along with it. You've gone along with it, right? You've given way to it. Now, take the trains, for instance. I had a friend who became a train driver. Now, this is a true story, right? This is a true story. Train driver. He gets caught after a drug test on dope. Can't say his name. But he gets caught and they give him a warning. Okay, fair enough, you've been caught. This is not part of what we require of you because it jeopardizes the whole system. The whole system gets jeopardized by this person's habit. He can have an accident and he'll take out and maybe not only kill himself, but wound or maim other people as well. So they reprimand him and I think they fined him or something happened. They warned him. This happened again, Jorah. Right? He knew. So it was up to him to have value for his job, just like it's up to us to have value for our relationship. He got the warning. Well, guess what happened? Right, this is what you call a fool. He got caught again. What do you think they did? Yep, he lost his job and never to work in the railway again. That's called no contact. Excuse me. That's called no contact, viewers. In its truest sense. He lost his job. Right? He lost his job. And a lot of people are losing their relationships by misconduct. And you're trying to work out, well, what form of discipline should I show to the person that has done me wrong? Well, if they keep doing it, no contact. If a surgeon's operating on, my mother had a kidney out, and the injury that it caused to her body, to her side, it looked like she'd been attacked by a shark. It was horrific. Horrible. They took the kidney out. What's that called? She was in hospital for 18 months. 18 months. This is going back to the 60s, early 70s, where they were still developing the surgical techniques and things. She went through hell and back. But she removed the kidney. The kidney was removed. The problem was removed. It was resolved with tremendous scarring. Now, that's no contact. That kidney is thrown away. Unfortunately, people that are going to bring you grief and trouble by way of their limited opinion of you, or whatever the case, because this can triangulate as well. Don't think narcissistic trauma or the damage that narcissism does to your mind can't come by way of a third person, because it can. You can have a hostile family member working at you and you know it, and they're just not gonna reconcile. They've just got it in for you, right? You can suffer mind injury from that because there's no need for that. It's called psychological abuse, emotional vandalism. And if you're attached to, your partner's attached to that family member, yes, I've experienced it. It's horrible. I remember I had a girlfriend when I was, how old was I? I was 22. Hot little thing she was. 3 years we were together. Her father hated me for whatever reason. I was a surfer and I had a motorbike. I used to stay there all the time. Only 22. And the father, he was just a bastard of a bloke. Horrible bloke. And in the end I just thought, nah, I can't, no. All right. Bugger you, mate. And I got out of the relationship. Now, he didn't like that either, did he? Yeah. Stay around and let me treat you like an idiot. That's the attitude that you get. Stay around and I'll treat you like an idiot. But if you go, right, when you go, oh, hang on a sec, he's just left my daughter because of me. Too late. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. I've had relationships where these women's children have just gone, nah, he's taken mummy away from her. I know I go on about this a lot, but you've got to understand, because it happens to women as well. They get involved with mummy's boy, right? And the next thing they're wondering, what the hell is going on here? It's mummy. And it's mummy's boy. They're still attached. He's still attached to his mummy. Every time you give him the shits, and there's all the jelly bubbers. Look at them today. My God. Man, there's more. I thought they were going out, but there's more. Every time you make a mistake or he gets the shits, or, you know, his immaturity rises up, or his narcissism starts to overtake him, or his reprobate mind, he runs to mummy. And mummy undermines the relationship emotionally, even if she doesn't say anything wrong, because she's encouraging the boy to come to her when he should be going to his partner. And this happens all the time. All the time, not some of the time, all the time. And that's how you know you've got a mummy's boy. And you won't even know this is going on. You've got to have tremendous discernment. You have to be in touch with your senses. And this is what I try and teach people. My last partner, and I hope she sees this, because she needs to learn to keep her sons out of her business. It's cost her a marriage. Before I come along. And I just got to the point where I thought, hang on a sec, I'm not even in a relationship with your adult sons. And I just went, no, I'm willing to please and do my part, but no, I'm not going to try and navigate and negotiate people's infantile dark triad behaviour and attitudes towards me. I just said no, I've given enough. She lost the relationship, right? Now these people expect this. Sometimes they'll use these things that they know to drive people away. The older ones, the aged ones. This woman was 50 and she wasn't stupid. Oh no, this thing was as clever as a whip. She knew. She was a player, a seductress, the Bible calls them in Proverbs. She knew how to use those boys when she was ready to cause a reverse discard, to cause me to go, no, you're out. I can't do this anymore. I'm not subject to these people. know? And they try and make you adapt and adjust to the manipulations, not only of themselves, but their children as well. And you just go, no, I'm sorry, I got 5 children of my own and they've brought no grief to anybody. These women, some of their children just don't stop. They just don't stop. They're like little babies needing food. Just because they feel like they need food. They don't necessarily actually need it. They're just acting in infantile ways. I'm sorry, no, I won't. I won't do that. No. I don't need to do that. And I won't. I'll be tolerant and see how deep the psychosis is that's going on. But if it's determined, right, if the hostility is determined and they're just not going to like me, I've learnt, especially after the last one, who I really did have hope for, because I knew she'd had experience in reformation for herself, and I knew she was experiencing the light. And I thought, well, you know, this is worth having a little bit of credence towards. No. What she did, she come up with an idea. I knew she was struggling a bit because I'd started the dating videos on what women do wrong and how they're abusing men, and men as well, to women. And it was starting to challenge her a bit because she wasn't really, she had one foot on either side of the fence. She was the wife to her many husbands at home, and she was coming to me for intimacy and sex. But she was never going to be able to break away from the many husbands at home because she was too enmeshed. And that's where her security was, because while I could kick her to the curb at any minute because of the behaviour and just say, no, I'm sorry, I'm out, which she obviously had happened before by way of interference of the boys or whatever you want to, these young adults. And again, this is just one instance of millions. They're not the only ones. They know that their security is in their home. They won't build a deep relationship. They won't. They don't need to, because their depth is in their enmeshment with their spawn. The husbandry is with the spawn, because the men that have gone before you have failed. They've been weak. And they've been driven away by the mother and the adult children, which suits the adult children, because then that's one less disciplinarian. They don't want discipline. They just want to do whatever they want. And these women just bounce from one person to the next, getting ran through, kicked to the curb. They get a bit of a run. She got a bit of a run out of me. I wouldn't say she was exceptional. Or the one that I married. And it's just a waste of time. It's just a waste. They're a waste of time. I'm sorry. Doesn't mean they're not valuable people or they don't have a value to somebody out there, but there's nothing constructive really going to come out of it except fulfilling the lusts of the flesh, which lead to nowhere. So I hope this has helped you at sunrise on the water here in Gosford, the Central Coast, New South Wales, Australia. Show some love, like, share and subscribe. Mainly comment. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, Theologist, New South Wales, Australia. Bye for now.